In this video, I will show you the basic functionality Asset Accountant has for managing leases as part of managing an asset within the system. From here you can see the fixed asset register. I'm going to switch to the accounts view so you can see the register for FY23. I'm now going to add a leased asset. So adding the lease asset in this interface, I'm going to add a leased laptop with a reference number 123. I'm going to choose that this is the computer equipment and that we're going to own it afterwards. The lease start date will be the 1st of July 2022. Then I can input my lease schedule. So I'm going to say I financed $2,000. I have an initial payment of $200 and then I have 12 payments of $100 and a final balloon payment of $650. Then I can generate the schedule. Asset Accountant will work out the interest rate based on the actual month over 365-day method. Then we'll use the schedule. You can see here this is then displaying the split between principal and interest for each month. I then have an option to change the amount capitalized. If I am using another system for doing depreciation, I can create a asset with amount capitalized of 0, and Asset Accountant will then just manage the lease accounting entries. In this case, I'm just going to assume that I'm capitalizing $2,000 and I can set the tax and the accounts treatments for depreciation at the same value as the amount financed. So I'm going to save that. That will then create the asset within the system. So we're now managing not just the depreciation, which you can see here, the depreciation over the life of the asset. It's also managing the lease liability. So I can expand that and you can see the interest calculations being posted to the lease and the payments being removed each month. From this screen, I can then navigate to my journals, and you can see here my journals are up to date up to the 30th of June. So now I'm going to create the journal. In order to demonstrate the way Asset Accountant manages all of the entries in the journal for you, I'm going to just initially select the lease additions and the lease movements in the journal that I create. So I've selected the lease additions and the lease movements, and you can see that's marked. And what that has done is created a journal that has for computer equipment, which is the asset that I've just created the lease. It's created the current and the non-current lease liability within the system. So you can see here the setup. So this is the new lease that's been created. We have also created a cost entry, which is then posted to the account that you've set up for managing the costs on the balance sheet. And we also calculate the expired and the unexpired interest and map those to the relevant accounts. If you do not use the unexpired interest method of accounting, you can simply map those to the same account as the current and non-current lease liabilities, and the net effect will be to show you just the outstanding principal in relation to each lease. Finally, there is a lease payment clearing account that is mapped, and the payments will be posted to that account for you to reconcile that against your bank reconciliation. And alongside that is the interest charge that will go to the profit and loss account for the month in question. So that journal is then created. I can post that from within there. That just shows the lease additions and the lease movements. And then let's just have a look at the journal that's created to the end of August. Again, I'm not going to select the asset additions and depreciation. Those are just standard journals. But what I will show you here is the movements in the lease for the following month. So I create those for the month of August, and that journal will get created. You can see the interest charge is posted for August, and then we have movements between the non-current and the current lease liability. So you can see that $650 that I entered as the balloon payment was due in 13 months time. So when I roll forward a month, that is now becoming due in less than a year. So that's been posted to the current lease liability, and the non-current lease liability account will be 0. All of that can then be exported and posted to the accounting system, which will then accurately reflect the state of the accounting for this particular lease. Finally, there are a number of reports that I can then generate. So from the reports tab here, I can choose any one of these individual reports about the leases that are in the system. So I can have a summary of all the leased assets that are included, a schedule that shows when the leases are due to expire, some further information that compares the net book value with the outstanding principal for the asset, and then 2 reports that show the finance balances over the period in question, so the principal outstanding month by month over the following 12 months, and the amounts paid in respect of those leases, so you can manage your cash flow.